Good morning. Welcome to Rooted and Relevant. And we are moving in on the close of January or the close of 2025. And January is right around the corner. It's just incredible to think about that. Well, as you can tell, I'm dressed up a little bit today because it is 60 degrees, only going to 63. Pray for us here in South Florida as we have a little nip in the air. And for those of you in the Midwest, I know you do not feel sorry for us. It looked like you guys got blasted with another winter storm, but it is a little nippy here. And so I had to put a 3/4 zip on today to make sure that I stay warm. Well, we are in James chapter 3. I'm still looking at some New Year's resolutions, some things that we can commit to doing different in 2026. And so we're going to continue in James chapter 3 because it is one of those things that I do not believe anyone has fully mastered, and that is the control of our tongue. And James chapter 3 says, "My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation." In other words, we have a responsibility to steward what responsibility God has given to us. So we are going to be accountable for that. And so don't look for the opportunity to be a master, to have all of that accountability and responsibility, because you are going to answer for it. And everyone likes to be on a power kick. Everyone likes the idea of being in control or being in charge. But James warns us a little bit here, saying with responsibility comes accountability. And I've often in leadership seminaries talked about if you want more liberty, then you have less leadership. If you have more or want more leadership, you're going to have less liberty. Some people in our world would say, no, it's just the opposite. The more powerful you are, the more liberty you have. But that's not the biblical principle. The biblical principle is you answer for more. And so James warns us here about that. And then he says, "For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same as a perfect or a mature man, and able also to bridle the whole body." And so I've asked the question, why control our tongue? Why is it? And the answer is found right there in verse number 2. And it is this: when you and I learn to control our tongue, we then have the tools to control our whole body. There are things that we struggle with, and we will continually struggle more and more and more the less we learn to control our tongue. And sometimes we think, well, as long as I don't cuss, as long as I don't take God's name in vain, as long as I don't tell dirty jokes, well, my tongue is under control. That's not true. There is a book out called Respectable Sins, and there are things that unfortunately Christians have learned to be comfortable with or accept as normal, but they're just as vile, just as evil, just as sinful, just as wrong. Exaggerating, being rude, cutting down somebody to better position how people will view you, gossiping, tale bearing, saying things, telling stories that may be true but just don't need to be shared, is evil and wrong. And so God is warning us in a number of ways, saying, listen, yes, swearing is wrong. Yes, dirty jokes are wrong. Yes, being rude or crude with your speech is wrong. Having an opinion and thinking everyone would want to hear it is wrong. It's just ego. Well, I'm just not afraid to share. Okay, you're broadcasting your immaturity. And God says, listen, if you're able to control your tongue, you are demonstrating spiritual maturity. And that maturity gives you the tools to control all the other aspects of your life. And so sometimes the reason why we know that we're struggling spiritually is because we just aren't controlling the tongue. Things come out and we wish we would have thought before we spoke, or we wish it would not have come out the way it came out because it came right out of our heart and we wanted to hide what was really in our heart. These are things that God reminds us that in 2026, maybe a good decision for all of us would to be willing and decisive in trying to be more careful, being more sensitive to how we speak, not just what we speak. Being careful if we speak, making sure that the timing is right, that the words are right, that they're meant to edify and not tear down. Make sure that our words are manifested as if they're coming from Christ, not that they're coming from us. Not a promotion of our opinion or of what we think, but a determination that we're going to demonstrate what Christ thinks and what would honor and glorify him. And so as you evaluate where you're most weak with your tongue, remember this. God says if you can control your tongue, you can control your whole body. And so if you can master the words that you use and how you use them, you will demonstrate a spiritual maturity that reflects Jesus. And so maybe a good New Year's resolution for all of us would simply be this: Lord, please help me to watch my mouth. And so that would be one of my admonitions. We're going to continue and look at some specific things in why control our tongue in 2026. But I think it'll be helpful to all of us to make a concerted effort to do better with God's help in 2026. Hope you have a great day. Stay warm, and we'll look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.